see that a lot of them are going to be moving in that kind of northeasterly direction. Let's take a look and see how quickly this storm is moving. I'm going to pull up one of my tools here. Okay, so right now, this tornado-warned storm that's in Stone County, if you're going to be along the US 49 corridor in Perkinston, Wiggins, those sorts of communities, and especially as you make your way off to the east along US 26 and, of course, MS 15 there as well, you want to make sure that you are enacting your game plan at this time. This storm is moving at approximately about almost due east, maybe east-northeast, ever so slightly, at about 20 miles an hour. You can see that warning polygon there. It's got a slight little slope to it on the top side there, approaching Wiggins. So basically, we're looking very carefully to see where this tornado warning is going to end up. But regardless, we want to make sure that we're watching it very carefully. Let me see if we have any sort of other updates on our different tools here at this time. Of course, nothing is well defined here. That's part of the reason why the National Weather Service has not said anything in terms of further information. But you can see we look for what's called a couplet, right? When we're talking about the couplet, we look for some of those bright reds and greens. That's winds that move toward and away from the radar. And basically, when we have tornadoes like this, a lot of those bright colors begin to show up if something were to manifest. Now, we only have a brief little blip there of bright colors. It's not necessarily cut and dry with this particular setup, but you can see if you are immediately along or just west at most of the US 49 corridor, and especially if you're going to be anywhere along MS 26 and east of US 49, you need to enact your game plan now. We'll see if we can get a few more names on the list for you. Let's see here. Okay, so as we make our way through Stone County, you can see that this is going to approach the northern county line. This is going to be just south of that lake there in Wiggins. You can see that this includes folks along MS 26, just shy of Perry County here in our viewing area. So basically, this is going to be something that we need to make sure that we're exercising the utmost caution here. We're going to stick with you every moment of the way to help out and just make sure that you have what you need for this particular tornado warning storm. But at this time, this is a tornado warning storm that doesn't necessarily guarantee something is there. We're going to see whether or not anything were to manifest. Obviously, we'll be here to see what's going on, but at this time, it's going to be moving sort of east, maybe east-northeast. Let's see if we can pull up our little handy-dandy tool here. So you can see it's going to be moving roughly in this direction. If you look from where that left tip of the arrow is, you can see that some of the brighter colors down there in Perkinston, right next to the US 49 corridor, will be moving in the general direction of the arrow you see here. So definitely one thing to consider there. I will see if I can pull up any of our other sort of tools here. Okay. So as of now, I'm seeing just a fair bit of noise, nothing well defined. This particular storm, kind of like the last storm being in between Jackson and Mobile's radar range. Well, this one is a little closer to Mobile now that the radar is no longer in Slidell. So this is some of the best imagery we have at this time, because the radar that's down in New Orleans has moved further westward to Hammond, Louisiana. But at this time still, we're looking to see if anything becomes more well-defined or if we get any updates for this particular warning polygon. Once again, if you're just joining me, we've got Stone County that has a tornado-warned storm until 5 p.m. later today. That's 5 p.m. That's going to be 39 minutes from now. As I check my watch here, I see it's 21 minutes after the hour here. And of course, let's see, we'll pull up and see if we have anything else for you there. Okay, so you can see that, yes, there are some colors here, and it's not going to be particularly, it's still not going to show anything that's particularly well defined at this time. But regardless, this particular storm, if you are west of US 49, you will be in the clear soon enough. This is going to be for folks along the MS 26 corridor, east of US 49, between Wiggins and Perkinston, and making your way off towards the sort of east there as you approach the junction between MS-26 and MS-15. Now, if you know someone that lives near the junction of state highways 15 and 26, you want to make sure that they are aware of the storm, right? You don't want to be driving during these types of situations. You just want to make sure to take shelter wherever you are. Of course, a slab home, if you have a neighbor that has a slab home or you're in a slab home, you want to make sure to find that innermost room away from windows if at all possible. But of course, things like that, if you've got closed-toed shoes, make sure to grab those as well, a flashlight, and of course the WDAM weather app, because we will be here every step of the way to keep you guys ready for what's going on. But with this particular setup, right, I know that it's late December, we're not quite in the late winter or spring months, but we are entering that time of year where severe weather comes back into the picture, because if you're just joining us, right, we have a first alert weather day tomorrow. I know that there's been some activity today, but we're going to be expecting a bit more in terms of severe weather potential for Saturday as well. So this is going to be something that we're going to have to monitor very carefully at this time. Now, as we look at the tornado warning, though, I'm looking at the couplet here, and it's just, there's not anything that's super well defined for the imagery here. Let's see, you can see it's a very sloppy storm. Even if something were to be there, right, it's going to be rain wrapped. It's going to be very hard to see, very hard to pinpoint, not only, of course, on the radar, but also in person as well. You don't want to take any chances. You don't want to put any lives at risk by going outside. You want to make sure that you find somewhere that's going to be in some type of slab structure, if at all possible. That way you have the best game plan in effect there. So let's take a look at the radar here. We'll see if we have any updates on this particular storm. We'll see. I'm not sure. One of the last storms we were watching had some hail attached to it. I'm not entirely certain. Let's see here. We may have some hail that's approximately 3/4 of an inch in diameter or smaller. But you can see that there's not as many like deep reds and pinks associated with this region. I know that we have some pink off to the immediate north of the polygon up by Wiggins proper there. I'll pull up my arrow for you. You can see some of the pinks in the regions there. This particular tornado warned storm, it's going to bring heavy rain. It's going to bring the potential for that tornado, while it's not guaranteed. And of course the potential for some small hail over there, especially you can see some of the pink regions that show up on the radar there. But the arrow goes away and we will be back to our tornado warned polygon here in the area. Now, we're going to be watching it carefully as it moves sort of east, right? It's got a slight northern movement to it, but it's mostly going to be moving to the east as it makes its way through Stone County as it approaches areas in Perry County. But of course, if it continues to move eastward and hold itself together, if it's got just enough rotation, if you will, to warrant this tornado warning like the National Weather Service has pinpointed right now, then you notice that it's going to be approaching areas like the Greene County line soon enough. Let's see what we got here for now. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to pull up and see what the National Weather Service in Mobile has. You can see that we're getting all sorts of updates here in the area. Let's see here. I'm going to add, so basically it's one of those things, right? Here in the Pine Belt, we're the hub city, right? And in the hub city, well, you've got Mobile and New Orleans and of course Jackson all nearby. And well, we're surrounded by 3 different offices in terms of the National Weather Service. And so we're kind of ping-ponging between all 3 offices because, that's just kind of how it goes with some of these counties for portions of the Pine Belt. But let's see if I can get any sort of more information for you from the National Weather Service in Mobile for this storm rather than Jackson like last storm. Let's see. Okay. All right, so once again, we have that tornado warning in Stone County, and I'm going to see if we can get anything from the National Weather Service. We'll be standing by. I just messaged them, and we will see if they can provide us any sort of updates there. If you're just joining this tornado warning is in Stone County. You can see where it's kind of approaching the MS-26 corridor there near US 49. So let's see if we have anything for you in terms of our velocity imagery, right? When it comes to a lot of velocity, we're looking for bright colors if that were to be the case for something to be well defined. But this is kind of a sloppy setup where we don't have a very crystal clear image on what this storm is doing. I'm not seeing Any other further reports at this time? I'm waiting to see what we hear for the National Weather Service. Yeah, see, some of my fellow colleagues and myself are messaging the National Weather Service at this time just to see if there's any updates on this particular tornado-warned storm. Just because, we're all kind of wondering, hey, is it going to, is it going to do something or not? Because it's not necessarily going to be something that's well-defined at this time. But if this storm continues to just kind of stay sloppy, if you will, then basically, we may be able to just kind of let this storm, this tornado warning expire, but that's only if they have reason to believe that that will be the case. We're not entirely sure on whether or not that will expire or not. Now, if you're joining us a few moments ago, let's see if we can, I'll pull up my camera here, and then you can see that areas to our north. I'm going to pull out my arrow pointer for you there. So that earlier tornado warning we were talking about, that has exited the viewing area. We are all good there. They are also going to let that expire in Choctaw County, Alabama, what is left of whatever is up there. So if you're joining us for that tornado warning earlier today, we are in the clear in the state of Mississippi for this particular storm. They are going to let that expire, whatever's left there, let that expire in Choctaw County, Alabama. So as we make our way back down south, here we go. Oops, there we go. We will make our way down south. And of course, this is the current tornado warning that we're watching. But this storm is not as well defined as the storm that we had earlier, where we had brief moments where something may have been there. Of course, we're working on trying to see what some of the reports say. I'm not aware of any reports with this particular storm at this time, but we will be here with you until this tornado warning expires to see what occurs there. Let's see here. So I'm not seeing anything in terms of the imagery here. That still remains a fairly good sign where we don't have anything that, any warning signs that we look for in these particular tornado warned storms. So, we want to make sure to exercise caution more than anything. You can see for the folks just there along the MS-26 corridor, you guys, basically this storm, if there's anything there, right, tornado specific, if anything were to show up there, it's going to be kind of along that MS-26 corridor east of Wiggins and those sorts of areas. So, near the junction of MS Highway 15 and those sorts of folks there. If you know someone in these areas, make sure they are aware of this particular situation as it is ongoing. Because this current tornado warning, we still have approximately 31 minutes to go until this tornado warning expires if it were to stay the way it is at this time. Let's see here. I'm going to take a sip of water. Give me one quick moment here. Okay, so I've got my sip of water ready to go, and of course we will be sitting with you as we see what's going on here in the area. So you can see where a lot of that heavier rain is just west of the junction between MS Highway 15 and 26 there. You can see the junction of 15 and 26 as I'm pointing here with our handy dandy arrow. A lot of that heavier rain is going to be there, but even if there's going to be hail associated with the storm at this time, it's reported that it's going to be about 3/4 of an inch in diameter or smaller. So not as big as that previous storm as earlier, if it's reaching the ground at all. We're kind of waiting to see whether or not any of that manifests at this time. As I pull here we go. Let's see, we got our recent scans for the area. We will pull up our radar sweep here. So yeah, you can see, there's barely any green here. Yes, we have some of the red. Obviously, when you have a tornado warning, right, we're talking about things that rotate, right? Tornadoes can rotate, but even just the storm itself. You can have a rotating storm that doesn't necessarily mean a tornado is attached. And this may indeed be what we're seeing here with this kind of northern Stone County storm that's tornado warned. But there's looking at some of the rotation and what the storm is doing, where you have winds that are kind of moving both toward and away from the radar site there in Mobile, Alabama. You can see that basically, you see that radar sweep coming from the east of the map there. Basically what we're looking at here, we look to see if that couplet becomes any more defined, we get any more brighter colors, but at this time there's barely any green on the map that suggests we have some really strong winds moving toward the radar site in deep southern Alabama at this time. Let's see here. See if I can pull up. Let's say here we go. We got our correlation coefficient here, also known as the debris detector. And basically, when it comes to this correlation coefficient, right, we look for something that's kind of bucking the trend, for lack of a better term, right? We look for something that's doing something different there. Of course, let's see if we have any updates here. Okay, so I have good news here. If you look at the radar screen right here in front of you, you notice that there is no longer a red shaded polygon on the map in Stone County. Once again, the tornado warning has been canceled from the National Weather Service in Mobile, Alabama. We are canceling the tornado warning for Perry County and Stone County there. This is no longer a life-threatening storm in terms of tornado potential. However, a lot of the storms we encounter today, they still bring the potential for being strong at times. We can have some of the storms that will be strong at times, and especially for tomorrow, where that first alert weather day is in effect. Make sure to tune back in. We will be guiding you guys every step of the way for tomorrow as well, when more weather is expected here in the area. But once again, before we go, that Stone County and Perry County tornado warning has expired and is no longer in effect.